And we're live.
Hi.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Caffeine and Confidence, where we stir the soul, not just the coffee. And remember, all beverages are welcome. This is a judgment-free zone. So whatever's in your cup, because we don't know what day it is, what time of day it is. It could be afternoon, it could be evening. So all beverages are welcome. But we're so excited that you're here. Day 4 is going to be, now you thought Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was good. Thursday. Okay, I'm just saying Thursday is going to be just as good. So today we're talking about reinvention, and not the trendy kind, not the, hey, I'm trying to reinvent myself and I'm on reality TV kind. No, this is the deep, brave, pack up your life and start over kind of reinvention. And our guest today, who Christina will be introducing shortly, doesn't just talk about change, she lives it. So hold on, this is going to be a great conversation. So with that, I'd like to reintroduce myself. I'm Nicole Gray. I'm the founder of Renewed Impact. I help women take up space, speak up, and also lead louder. And my partner in everything caffeine and confidence, Christina Green. She is, and I quote, the generational translator. That's what her clients nickname her. So I'm just saying. She helps organizations move beyond the hand-me-down leadership and outdated systems we've all come to loathe. And as a founder of Cardigan Careers, she helps leaders improve the generational intelligence to build workplace cultures that retain talent and thrive across every level. So if your organization wants to have that generation talk and you're not calling Christina Green, you got a problem. Just put it out there. So with that, Christina, let me welcome you and then have you welcome our guest for today.
Sounds good. Nicole, thank you so much. And again, thank you for tagging me in to be a partner in crime on this one. As I said, we were saying in the green room, and I've said before, I know this was your brainchild, and I am so happy to watch this kind of all unfold this week. We've had just a wonderful lineup of guests this week, and today is no different. Dominique is an amazing, I'll introduce her in a moment, but she is joining us from Germany. So she is on the other side of her day and is taking the time of her evening to join us today to share her wisdom and her insights and how we start to step into our confidence. So Dominique, let me do a quick introduction and I will pass it to you because I definitely want to hear more from you today. So everyone, if you do not know, Dominique Andersen is a reinvention strategist and the founder of STRETCH+BLOOM for disillusioned, high-achieving women eager to reclaim their lives with ease and grace. Oh, and if you don't need that in your life, then I don't know what you're doing. She is a former interior designer and an executive with a lifelong passion for personal growth and decades of experience in manifestation. As an iconoclast, she has always strived to live with authenticity, even if that meant completely reinventing her life and moving to a new country. And we will dive into that some more. I want to just call out. So one of the things that I love about you is your work that you're doing. I've started to dive a bit into what you are doing, Dominique, but this is not to be confused. You are not a career coach. You are not going to tell people, what to do with their next steps in their lives. This is really about stepping into their authenticity and helping women to reclaim their power for what this looks like for them moving forward. So, and I'm sure a lot of your journeys and just to call out, Dominique was born in the Caribbean. She was raised in Paris. Oh my goodness, my heart just. To go to Paris, but to be raised in Paris and
Right.
is now currently based in Germany. I just cannot wait to hear your lens and how you approach all of this today. So Dominique, thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, this introduction is I'm like, okay, she's interesting. Let's see if she lives up to it now.
Okay. Well, we are beyond excited to have you here. And I want to kick off with the first question is, what does confidence look like for you right now?
Confidence right now looks like looking at the world and then deciding I don't care. And, in 2025, I think we see a lot of things. We don't need to talk about them, but I think it's a year that is bringing a lot of change, energy, tensions. And it's easy to be caught with that narrative and those stories. and allow that to change how you show up in the world, allow that to dictate what you do next. And for me, confidence is like, you know what, I'm not participating, I'm not interested, I'm not doing that. And I'm going up, I'm going my way. I have things to do. I have things I'm interested in doing, I'm interested in bringing in the world, and I don't care. I'm not going to care about that. So that's confidence for me these days. It's just being grounded in this feeling that I can choose the next step, and I don't have to fall victim, or I don't have to participate in a narrative that's happening around me, and that I will be guided, or that I will be able to find a way to be continuing what I want to do and what's important for me.
All right. So then on that, I think that's a mic drop. So I feel like we're done because you said all of it.
Okay.
I love that so much, because I just recently bought a t-shirt that said, "Fun fact, I don't care." And I feel like I feel you on that. That's how I'm moving through 2025. I have too much going on to be worrying about all that other stuff. So thank you for that. I love that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. It's like putting those blinders on, right? Because I'll speak for myself. Oftentimes walking through life, looking left, looking right, seeing what other people are doing, the comparison of constantly, and just the distractions, everything that's coming into our orbit, you know what I mean? That is not necessarily for us. So Dominique, that is such a unique and I think spot on approach to how it is that you're managing that. Let me ask you, what has maybe been something you've had to unlearn in order to step into that confidence?
So actually, let's just rebound on what you said about being raised in France. And I'm French, but raised in Paris, and something that's actually really big in our culture. It's the idea that you're not supposed to be too positive. You're not supposed to be, you always have to have a flaw. It's part of the culture. It's kind of considered a little vulgar or uncool to have everything going right for you. So people who would come into the country may say, "Oh, you guys are always complaining." And for us, it's like, yeah, that's kind of how we express ourselves. You don't just go, "Yeah, everything is perfect." You're like, "Yeah, I'm perfect, but don't worry, I also have problems." So you always have to backtrack like that. And as I was kind of learning the power of the mind and trying to integrate all that into the way I was thinking, one day I realized, you know what? This is not making sense. This is not making sense. I'm participating in a ritual, in a process that's undermining me. And okay, it looks cute, but am I trying to stay down? And down can be different things. It's not always down, in problem or whatever. But it's just, am I trying to stay at a lower level, or am I trying to accelerate? And that is just not serving me. That is not serving me. So I cannot allow that. So it's unlearning those cultural rituals, and that then turns into, well, you may not fit so well with the culture you're from. So that kind of creates a new problem. But those are the types of things, and those are the types of sacrifices you may have to make when you decide, okay, I need to show up with more strength, I need to show up with more confidence, and I cannot allow myself to playfully put myself down, playfully talk about myself in a way that makes me feel weak. I cannot allow that. So this is really one thing I had to learn, and it's really profoundly part of the culture. So yeah, you have to show up very differently. I think in the States, the culture is very cheerful and chill. So you do that very naturally. But for me, it was certainly something.
Well, it depends on where you are. Let's just put.
Yeah.
I will say it depends on where you are. It's kind of it's shifted, and I do think it's kind of where you're from.
Okay.
I grew up in the Midwest, so I'll say kind of like that Midwest attitude. But then I also spent, I lived in New York. That's a totally different attitude. I've never lived on the West Coast, but I have family from there. So I think
Okay.
it's interesting that you said that, because I think there's some similarities to folks here depending
Okay.
on where they were raised. So that's deep to
Okay.
me, to kind of have to unlearn that, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, and out here, it's just smoke and mirrors, if you will, sometimes, right? I mean,
Okay.
I think it's timely we're having this conversation
mhm,
in the States, that this is the Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where oftentimes, I mean, yeah, people will tell you that they're fine. Oh, fine, I'm good. Everything's great. It's part of because we're conditioned to say that, as opposed to actually saying, well, if you really want to know how I'm doing, like today is actually a shitty day. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact,
right,
this has been a terrible year for me.
Mm-hmm.
No one holds space for each other to actually unpack that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're just riding an elevator, or,
Mm-hmm.
you're walking someplace, you're just in passing. So it's like there's no space to really have the conversation about how you're actually doing. So I love your approach about having to unlearn the fact that there
yeah,
always has to be a flaw, that
Mm-hmm.
life is cannot just actually be good and great and going well, and that there has to be some aspect of it that is in fact not going well. So it's like you always have to focus on what that might be to make sure you stay kind of in check.
Yeah. And it's almost like you have to imagine something. It's almost like, okay, everything is going great. I'm happy. What can I say? What can I say? It's like creating this need to come up with something bad to be able to hold the conversation in that way. It sounds like we're almost diametrically opposed between what you were talking about in California, where you basically almost forcing yourself to say something positive no matter what, and we're basically forcing ourselves to say something a little negative at least, no matter what. And I think both probably are not empowering you as much as
yes,
having a balanced way of, sometimes the positive thinking is super powerful to drive you, but sometimes you also need to be able to acknowledge how you feel, what's going on, and also find
mhm,
resonance with the people around you, that people actually are willing to be hearing that and holding space for you, um, to not be 100% all the time, because that's not
yeah.
humanly possible anyway. Yeah.
That's the key, that holding space. So Dominique, when do you feel most impactful in your work or in your life?
Impactful. I think I've been learning more and more about myself, and I think one of the things that really excites me is to have people, through something I may say or show them,
Mhm,
realize something about themselves that they were holding themselves back, or they didn't believe that they had the power to accomplish. So, for instance, I love when I'm doing things on social media, just through the sharing, that
mhm,
some people would just be like having a light bulb moment, like, oh wow, and it's kind of allowing an authorization that they have to go grow in the direction, look for
yes,
information, etc. So I find that really exciting. And then what I love on the one-on-one situation, when I work with people in my work, it's when you have someone coming to you with a situation, a need to change, and then you go through this process of transformation, and they look back at you and they're like, did I do that? And you're like, yes. Did you see what you can do? For me, that's what I find exciting. It's like people
yeah,
awakening to a whole new level of their capacity, whole new level of what's inside of them that they didn't even know they had. I think that's kind of like what I like the most, which is kind of resonating with what you were saying, with the way I do reinvention. Because for me, it's
mhm,
not so much trying to add layers and and be um, and be looking like what you're expected to look like,
mhm,
but it's unlearning, undoing, and going back inside and finding things about yourself that you were hiding, that you never had the courage to pull out,
mm,
that you didn't even know you had within you. And I'm trying to find all the stuff, all the beauty, all the light, all the greatness, and I'm trying to get that to come out. So for me, that's when I get really excited, and that's when I feel like, okay, I've done my my job, or I've done something that was kind of useful, you know?
Love that. Yeah.
Wow. I admire your work, Dominique. That is to be able to, as I'll say, in present and in past, right? Watching my own evolution of where I was before and where I am today, I can only imagine what that feels like to be on, on the coach end, right? Like on the guiding hand, helping women really kind of see this light of themselves that we take for granted daily. We don't really spend a lot of time focusing on actually on our power and the things that we are really good at. And I always say that other people can see your light, we can't see our own, right? And so I admire you for doing this work, because this to me is part of the collection of great work that is necessary in this world, especially as we evolve as a species,
Mhm.
right? We need more human kindness and greatness in this world. And
Exactly.
so yeah. So thank you for doing this work. Let me ask you, what if somebody's out there and they're listening and they are saying, "You know what? I think I'm ready. I'm ready to kind of take this next step. I want to show up more confidently." What would you say is kind of like a first step or first few steps?
All right. So most people would go into techniques, and I would go into mindset. And when I mean
Mhm.
mindset, it's first, before you even get into the confidence part, you need to be deciding you need to burn the bridges with anything that could undermine you. Before you even get to do anything about showing up, you need to just go, okay, this is no longer an option. And I will remove anything that's preventing me from getting there. Before you even have the confidence, before you even know how you're going to get the confidence, you first need to have that decision, and you need to have that resolve in the decision. And then you start to build, to find ways to build the confidence. But until you have this attachment, and you basically can't be in the fear and in the confidence, you can't be in the hiding and in showing yourself. So you have to just be, I'm in, without knowing how you're going to do it, but you have to be in. And
Yeah.
once you're in, now we talk about, okay, let's grow this. Now we talk about the techniques. Now we talk about, okay, where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses? Where do I need to improve? But sometimes we talk about confidence and we think, okay, it's preparedness. You need to be prepared and you need to know how you're going to make it happen. But to go back to what we were saying at the beginning of this conversation, talking about 2025 and all the what's going on, you can't necessarily prepare for that, because
Right.
it's a world that's shifting in so many directions. It's not I want to be confident and I want to do public speaking, therefore I need to practice and I need to put it on my to-do list, that I need to go to this coach and I need to practice my techniques. You can't do that with the world being all over.
Hmm.
You can't prepare, but you can build yourself up to trust in your capacity for rebounding, to trust in your capacity for finding solution, to trust that you have the capacity for finding people who will be good people, who would be going in the directions that's going to be beneficial. So it's more about this underlying, it's before you get to the practical step, it's the underlying attitude of, first, this is a non-negotiable. And second, you have the capacity to believe that you have the capacity to find the resources as you make your way forward. And then once you get on that road, you start to see the actual steps of what you need to practice or what you need to learn or what you need to unlearn. But you have to have this, as far as I'm concerned, I really believe that you have to have these preliminary steps where you enter with really this strong resolve.
Well, let me tell you, all the gems you're dropping is resonating. So, first of all, let me give Destiny Ferguson. She said, "Thank you, ladies, for being on today." Thank you, Destiny, for watching us.
Thank you so much.
Kimberly Gatefield, she said, "Great advice." And then R. Holcomb said, "Wonderful conversation." So, It is
you.
resonating. So thank you so much for all of that. We
Thank you
appreciate
so much. Yeah.
it. So with that, we'd like to play here at Caffeine and Confidence called Finish That Sentence. We've had some wonderful questions. So we have some questions just for you. And again, we'd like to ask all those who are watching, play along, have you answer and finish these sentences on your own as well. So with that, Dominique, reinvention isn't about change. It's about
reconnecting with yourself. Truth, authenticity. It's not one word. Was that supposed to be one word?
No. You just have to finish. You just have to finish the sentence. That's all you have to do.
Okay. So reinvention is about it's realignment, basically. It's realignment. It's coherence with the next moment. It's coherence with your next moment when you know, okay, this is where I want to go, and I'm going to need to be showing up differently. I'm going to need to make new decisions, and then you realign with that. So it's about coherence. It's about these things. So all the stuff we normally talk about, it's very cosmetic, but it's always starts with this step behind of the resonance alignment. That's how I see it.
Yes.
Love it.
Oh, thank you for that. And so in theme with your business name, so I knew it was time to stretch when?
When actually talking about this is how it started. I knew it was time to stretch when I worked like a horse on this project, and I realized my babies were going to be sliced, chopped off. And I realized, what am I doing here? At some point, you feel yourself on these tracks, and the world feels like it's closing in on you. And everybody says, oh, this is great. You're doing great. And you're like, okay, I'm going to die if I stay here.
Yes.
I will disappear. I will just implode from, and that's basically when Stretch and Bloom started to be created, is when I realized I cannot be doing this. I'm going to have to stretch and expand. Oh, hold on. I forgot to plug in my cable. I'm going to have to do that in 1 second. Yes, it's this moment when when I realized I cannot do this. I can't do this. And that's basically where Stretch and Bloom gets started.
Yeah. Well, while you're go ahead and plug in, because we don't want to lose you.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But I totally get that. I mean, I feel like I've sat in many of those meetings where I'm screaming inside. Nobody can hear, but I am screaming. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. All right. So a belief I had to release to grow was.
A belief I had to release to grow was, I think there's so many, and it changes era by era. I think one of the latest one would be about not feeling safe. And there's so many ways of integrating that. But then you realize through the way you interact with the world that you may feel safe, you may be safe, but part of you is not feeling safe. So that's something I've been integrating more, is the idea that I'm safe, which is kind of absurd because I really have been very safe in my life. But yeah, sometimes you have these things.
Yeah. Well, and safety can mean many different things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and along that theme, 2 blanks, if you will, and fill them in however you like, is what scares me most is, and excites me is.
Scares me most. Oh la la. What scares me most? Like, is this do I have to make it abstract or concrete?
Whatever you want to make of it.
What scares me most? Well, this is a long blank. Let me think about something. An easy one. I don't like creepy little animals. That's an easy one. Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And the other one was what excites me.
Excites
Yes.
you.
What
Yeah.
excites you?
Um, I think anything that just feel expansive, and that changes in different moments. Sometimes it's a conversation like today, and that just feels like warm bubbles, and I love that. Sometimes it's music.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's animals playing. It's anything that just kind of feels like life. Something that feels deeply,
Mm,
profoundly alive. I find that really, really exciting. Just the
I
potential
love-
of how much greatness and how much beauty and how much, all that I find is super exciting.
yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So the version of me I'm becoming knows that fill in the blank.
Hmm. Um, the version of me I'm becoming knows that this is tricky.
Definitely, definitely, we're here. We want you to stretch.
the
Come
version
in,
of me
stretch.
the version of the version of me I'm becoming um, is is knowing and finding the meaning in all of the experiences that happened in the past and starting to put it all together, and knows that things that may not have gone the way I wanted or seems to have been difficult and painful are now coming together in a way that's really, really great.
That,
I'm,
that, that
I'm,
speaks volumes. That was a beautiful answer. That speaks volumes. I feel like not only Christina and I we can relate to. I'm sure there's people watching because we're all different versions, right? So that's the beauty of
Yeah.
growing and growth.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm version, I think, 3.0 of myself where I started. And there will be future versions.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
so fill in this blank. So freedom looks like what in my life right now?
Oh, freedom looks like I do I don't do what I want, but let's just say that I absolutely love choosing how my days go.
Mm,
That is one of the things that has been driving me forever. I hate, is that a word people use? I really dislike having to be regimented. I really, really, really cannot stand it. So
yeah.
I love having the capacity to decide exactly how my days go, and saying, okay, I'm talking to people at this time. I'm not going to talk to you, whatever. Understanding my rhythms, being able to just go, you know what? I know how I function. I know when my zone of genius is in the day, what doesn't work, what
Hmm.
works. And that's my life. I do not negotiate on that.
Mm,
And that's freedom. And I do enjoy it today. And I've been enjoying it for years. I do not spend days doing things I dislike. It might sound very arrogant for some, but this is
no.
my freedom, and this is something that I've been really fighting hard to create or maintain, and it's extremely important to me.
There is
Yeah.
no level of arrogance in that answer because I love me some boundaries. So I am big on that. And hate or dislike, the bottom line is I control my day. So I love it.
Right.
I
Exactly.
love it.
I control
Yeah.
my
That's
day. I
great.
love that.
Yep. All right. So this is the last one, and I cannot wait for this answer. When I bloom,
When I bloom, I I have something really silly in my head. No, but I kind of have this side where I really enjoy childlike things.
Mm,
Mm.
And I was kind of having flashbacks to being 4 and listening to some soundtracks of happy cartoon characters. There's this element of lightness and childishness. So when I bloom, I kind of revert to this super childlike excitement, exuberant happiness. I just feel it's almost like a home signal, and it could even be in my head,
mhm.
that I kind of know, okay, this is good. This is good, because it just awakens so much of that energy of perfect, happy, joyful light. And that's what blooming feels like.
Oh, I love that.
Hearing these, just being in this headspace, when you're 4 and you're just like
Yeah.
hyper and
Yeah.
super playful, and everything is just great, and everything makes you giggle, and you're like, ah, well, I love that.
And you didn't have bills, that the good old days.
Exactly. You don't have all this, just like happy and delirious, and it's like, everything makes you laugh, and that's
Right.
blooming for me. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's an adult version of it, but certainly the energy is this resonance of this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We seem to think that when just because we become adults that we have put on this, armor of or carry around this anchor of responsibility that says we are no longer allowed to have playful playtime. Right. And I'll say I was on a conversation earlier this week with my son, with my oldest son, and we were on a Zoom, and I could see it in his face. He's 23, that he was in a playful mood. Life was play for him. And that's because he's
Mhm.
intentionally creating this life that is playful. Yeah, he has responsibilities, and he also makes time for play. And I think to your point, Dominique, we have to be able to kind of go into that space again
Mm-hmm.
and pull that out. Be the child, because we are all still that 5, 4, 8-year-old child inside of us that just wants to play, right? We may not throw the tantrums any longer, but that's if you've ever seen an adult tantrum, right? It's still in us.
Yeah, and I think that child, like in this child space, it's not always just about tantrums or whatever, but it's also the creativity and the freedom
Mm-hmm.
and the possibilities. So when I was talking about seeing things in people and trying to make them see that they can do things that they couldn't, I think when you're a child, you have this element of everything is possible, everything is just, the sky is the limit. You just make believe, you're just excited, and you just go for it. And I
Yeah.
think it's going back to that attitude of creativity and openness and possibility, and going in without fear. So that goes back to the confidence again. You go in
Mm-hmm.
without fear, you go in with excitement and with determination, and that drives you. So for me, it's almost like a radio signal. So when I'm tapping into that frequency, I know, okay, this is a good frequency to be sitting on, because it's lining up a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I see that with my 9-year-old. I mean, that freedom he has of I can do anything, and I love that. And I always push him to want him to remember that, because I want him to remember that when he's 16 or when he's 20 or 25. I still want him to have that where he knows and feels like he can do anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Dominique, this has been such an amazing, it feels like we've been talking for 2 hours, because I feel like I could talk to you forever. And we want to be respectful of your time and just appreciate. Thank you so much for joining us today, for blessing, Nicole and I, and anybody who's watching this live, and anyone who watches the replay. This has been really another perspective on how it is that we can approach stepping more confidently into our lives, whether we are working a 9 to 5, whether we are free flowing, through entrepreneurship, or finding our next journey, right? What does that next phase look like? So Dominique, those who want to connect with you, I definitely say everyone follow her on socials. We will be dropping all of that in the comments. I've listed her website for Stretch and
Yeah.
Bloom on YouTube. I'll post that on LinkedIn. But how can people connect with you to make sure if they want to say, I want to learn more about what the work that you're doing?
So to learn more about the work I'm doing, Stretch and Bloom is kind of my home. I have several websites. It's very structured, but Stretch and Bloom is the entry point in my world. This is where you have the blog. This is where you have a lot of content. And then you have different tracks depending on where you are, depending on what you want to change, whether you're lost, whether you want to start completely over. And from there, you can work with me privately, or you can work through turnkey solutions. So that's my website. And then you can, of course, connect with me on my mailing list. And this is my private circle. I call it the private circle. And this is really these are my people. These are my Okay, so this is where I will drop things that are important. This is where I will drop the next things. I like confidential things. I mean, privacy is one of my my things. I think everything has been happening outside and everything is open, and I like private. I think there's benefits in doing things with people who resonate. So this is the private circle is basically where I will be. I share things that are happening like this, and then I'm on Pinterest, and then I'm not on all the social medias. I'm on LinkedIn, of course.
Okay. Well, we'll be dropping those handles as well, so
Yes.
everyone knows how to connect with you. And Dominique, thank you again. Really appreciate you being a guest and giving us your time today.
Much.
I'll
Thank you
turn it
so
over
much
to
for
Nicole.
having me.
Yeah. So with that, again, thank you so much, Dominique. I appreciate you. I look forward to collaborating with you in the future. And I just want to let everybody know, if you've loved this week, or if you've missed a day, or this is your first time, we will be sending out the replays, and we'll have that. And please join us tomorrow. It'll just be me and Christina closing out the week. So I'm looking forward to that. But also, too, with all of that, just want to remind you that change doesn't need a crisis, just courage to hold on to that. And that reinvention isn't just about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you to shrink. So whether you're stretching, blooming, or just barely holding it together, you're still growing. And remember, that's confidence. So with that, keep shining, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much
everyone.
for having me. Thank you. Bye.
Absolutely.